Sorry, guys. I hope people are still just chilling. I have a few final thoughts that I wanted to wrap up. Because, as you may know, real quick, so this show, Trending Topics, is going to be, I'm going to wrap it all up in a podcast. I'm basically going to do it in segments and seasons. So after 9 or 12 episodes, whenever I get to a good stopping point, I'm going to wrap it up. So I did want to finish my comments on Syria and talking about Susan Rice a little bit. So I kind of got to a decent stopping point with Syria, so I won't necessarily open that chapter up again. But obviously, this is ongoing right now. I just while my phone was charging. So anyway, so here's what I have. So my phone, just real quick. My phone, so it was fine. I have small hands like Donald Trump, but whatever. And so I don't want to get a bigger phone. And I've had this iPhone 5S, and it's great. It's fine. It's perfect for my hands, but I don't like a case, and I don't want to get a bigger phone. So I've gotten, this is my third one, and I dropped it, so there's a little crack. And I was out at the Shaun King, Shama Sawant Makita Oliver rally in Seattle. It was my first live stream for Truth Against the Machine, and it was raining, so Seattle. And I was holding it, and it got so much water on it. Since then, now it basically, my phone dies after it basically dies at any time. It can just be at 50, 60, 70 normal percent, and then all of a sudden it says 10%, and then it dies. I'm like, fuck it. So that's unpredictable. I haven't had a chance to get a new phone until now that the CAP H-1B immigration deadline's behind us, and I have a little bit more time. So I'm going to get a new phone, so we'll have everything's going to be steps taken. I'm doing a personal GoFundMe also, so if you want to help me get my reach out and talk more and help more independent folks get into the fold, support the GoFundMe that I have on my Twitter profile. But anyway, so on Syria, it's obviously a developing situation, but notice the changes that have taken place, that basically Bannon came off the National Security Council, which wasn't a good, we didn't want him on there, but he was in a way an isolationist, and so he came off, and then all of a sudden, now we're airstriking Syria. I just saw a Navy blast. Who knows what's going on in terms of the day-to-day, but regime change is the way to approach opposing this, and we need to talk to everyone and do everything we can to just continue to oppose this, and especially the Hillary Clinton voters. It's fair to have voted for her if you thought that the Democratic administration would have been the best. At this point, I'm like, this would have all happened. This is exactly what would have happened if Hillary Clinton got elected. What's happening right now, literally would have happened right away. And so I hope all of those voters talk to her and her people and call her out for this and talk about the lives that are dying, people dying in Syria that are going to die from this. She knows that you can she knows point blank what's the problem. If she thinks that she's a feminist, if she thinks that she's really in support of Muslims, it's unbelievable how she can have so much gall going out and saying, as a person who's trying to have continued political power, that she supports minorities and women and children, and then obviously she literally came out of the woods foaming at the mouth to bang the war drums for Syria, and look, all of a sudden the military strikes are amplified. If anyone who says Hillary Clinton doesn't have power, yeah, she's unelectable, but she's obviously in the favor of the entire military-industrial complex, and that's just not because she got promoted from doing so well at Walmart getting guns to destroy all of the local economies all over the world. That wasn't enough for Hillary. She had to step it up, as the wolf in sheep's clothing, as the front woman for the international arms sales. That we're arming rebel groups in Syria to try and institute regime change. That's now the motive of this government since the chemical attack, which hasn't even been investigated yet. We need to call for investigation on that attack. It was probably terrorists. It probably wasn't the Syrian government because they would stand nothing to gain. But at this point, we just need to be vetting sources and calling people out for bullshit and calling people out who aren't speaking out against war, because obviously the people who want war have much, much more power than the people who want peace. And so the people who want peace need to be as active as organizing and being as loud as the people who love war, and hopefully we'll make progress, and hopefully Trump will come to his senses, and hopefully a lot of Republicans will hold Trump to his senses and talk about that. He campaigned on being against regime change, and so those people are the most important people to be addressing him and asking for him to change his strategy towards an anti-interventionist strategy. Bring in Tulsi Gabbard. He's already worked with her. Bring her in. Have her be a person who can help pull ourselves out of these terrible interventionist wars that leave people dead all over the world and bring refugees to our country, and it's just all terrible. And their pipelines, when will they learn that their pipelines are not going to stand? We'll get through to them eventually, and the louder you are now, the better. Real quick, also Susan Rice. So on the topic of Susan Rice, another event that's kind of taken a few passes this week. So basically it was uncovered that Susan Rice was kind of the person, or at least came out to be the person who basically instituted the surveillance of Trump as a presidential candidate by the Democratic administration while the election was taking place. So there's a lot of events that happened, and things have changed. You know, her first comment was, "Oh, I didn't unmask anyone. I didn't reveal any identities. There was no surveillance." And then the next day, after Mike Cernovich, I think his name is, kind of broke this story on Twitter. Interestingly, maybe I'll break a big story one day. I don't know. That she was the one responsible, basically, for allowing, we've got obviously so much surveillance happening of all of us. We all kind of know that. I'm using an iPhone, so Apple gets all of this, and of course they're giving it to the government. They know Zach's a political dissident. Like, they're probably listening. Great. That's like literally, probably my entire viewers is literally probably all CIA people who are like, what the hell? When is this guy gonna go crazy? Or hopefully not. Well, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, they have access to all this stuff whenever they want it. And so it's, not surprising that they would have Trump's people and Trump's affiliates under surveillance, and whether it's active or inactive. And also, obviously, the Democratic Party, because of how much Trump and the Trump movement was trying to challenge the too big to fail nature of the Hillary Clinton Democratic establishment, which obviously too big to jail is a really big problem we've got right now. And hopefully, to some extent, Trump will start prosecuting white-collar crime, because obviously Obama didn't prosecute basically any his entire 8 years. And hopefully, I don't think Trump will be able to come through on that, because he's not going to piss off his rich friends. But hopefully, he maybe can. And so, basically this precedent so they were basically inadvertently or advertently, and we'll see as documents are released, but basically they've been bugging Trump and his associates while he was a candidate. And to me, it makes perfect sense. They bug everyone. They bugged Merkel. They bugged literally everyone. So it's like, yeah, of course they bugged Trump, okay. How do they do it? What was the nature? How did they lie about it? Let's see how bad it really is. And they're, of course, lying about it. And just to me, the biggest problem with it is that this is just an unbelievable precedent to set for an existing president on people that are trying to take over that person's job. Obviously, not always is the president going to have been after 8 years, so they're not going to be able to run for re-election. But it's like now Trump has the precedent to spy on anyone who runs for president against him. Tulsi Gabbard, anyone. It's like, it just, maybe that will be finally when Congress people start taking internet privacy seriously, is now that there's so much wiretapping that people in Congress have to start protecting themselves from their own government, because our government is wiretapping people, trying to take out of government. It's just a mind fuck, and it's stressful. But basically, that's what Obama and Susan Rice and Hillary Clinton, all of them, that whole entity that was basically trying to do everything they can to not blow the election, which they did, that it included indirect or direct surveillance of Trump and his associates, and he was a candidate at the time. It's like, that lends credibility that I did it to Bernie. Like, they probably did. Like, if not worse, who knows? But it's just like, the fact that the Democratic Party did that, it's just like, the Democratic Party used to be the good party, and now it's like they're the advanced evil party. Like, it's just insane, and the precedent it sets is really, really, really concerning. Trump said that Susan Rice may have committed a crime. It's like, okay, we obviously know at this point that crimes are just like, oh, what are enforced and what aren't. Like, that's the difference between what crimes actually exist, and we know that's probably why it's so hard to finally nail down any of these people who have committed so many crimes. It's like, at what point do you say, oh yeah, well, we know that you've got yourself up shit creek, being corrupt and lying and stealing and money laundering and all of these things, but this is where we draw the line. It's like, these people are literally bombing countries with no concern. They obviously, corruption is like the least of their concerns. But it should stay our concern, and I'm so hopeful that there'll be enough of us, and there'll be enough people that really, really mobilize going into 2018, and hopefully we can make a big difference in Congress, and that would have a really big effect. So we need to really focus our efforts on 2018, and I think that everybody should be doing that, in addition to kind of grilling every politician on a daily basis. Get your Twitter account, write to your people, sign up for mailing lists, send back information. kind of broadening the again, just like, so I feel like part of what we need to be doing is not only informing ourselves and finding new people and building new alliances and finding strength in numbers, right? But also figuring out ways that we can, improve the kind of inflow of good, like, unbiased information in our lives. So I think really the good thing is exploring independent journalism. And so really participate in the comment feeds when you're on independent news sites. Be friendly, be civil, start Twitter accounts. Like on Twitter especially, people are looking to engage, so it's a good place. But just do a little bit more. If everyone just keeps doing a little bit more, there is, the people that are doing it is nice because you're supporting good people, and hopefully their motives are getting money out of politics and bringing progressive change to Washington, and that's not Democrat, Republican, Independent. It's like it doesn't even matter who the candidates are that we're voting for, as long as they're progressive in terms of wanting to change the status quo away from the oligarchic capitalist system and towards a family-friendly and worker-friendly system. I mean, we all have that in common. So don't let the media and the negativity and the fear-mongering pollute your brain to think that there's not that many good people out there, because the majority of people are good, and 99% of people are all not millionaires, so you probably have that in common. So even if someone seems like they're not like of your political stripe, just take a few steps back or away from the party and just really kind of bring it down to the most basic things. I think that everyone has in common that everyone wants just like better for themselves and their family, and that's fine. It's just kind of like you have to think about it, what's good for the goose and what's good for the gander. And that, there's a way to kind of step back from everything and bring together the fact that we all are trying to do well for our families, and that's a working class value. And the working class is what needs to unite to move forward and combat the regressive elements of the Trump and Republican agenda, and combat the corporatism of the Democrats that they're still trying to shove down our throats, despite the fact that they didn't learn that we meant it when we said never Hillary. I think that's going to be it. So thanks for sticking with me through my technical difficulties. I'll have a new phone next week and maybe a new environment. We'll see. But my name is Zach Hallett. Thanks for joining me. This has been Trending Topics on Real Progressives. And check out Real Progressives. Subscribe. And there's a lot of drama with YouTube right now in terms of taking money away from people like us. So it's basically, again, late-stage capitalism. Start reorienting your life towards independent sources for everything. Food, toys, drinks, everything where you can. Support local people. They don't even have to be perfect, right? Just support local. It feels way better to give your money and your time to people who are on the same side as you versus the people that are just trying to get rich off you, right? My name is Zach Heller. Have a good night. I will see you next time.